Before we dive in, drop a comment with the city you're watching from. Let's see where this story travels. He was just skimming the news when he saw it, his old school, shuttered and forgotten. Donald Trump went back alone, but what he found inside stopped him cold. The discovery sparked a change he never expected, and it might just stay with you too. The Trump Tower penthouse was a fortress of light and sound, city glow streaming through the windows, TVs muttering cable news, phones buzzing with updates. Donald Trump sat at his desk, a glass of water sweating on a coaster, scrolling through headlines on his tablet. At 79, he'd seen it all: rallies, deals, the White House, the world bending to his name. Tonight, though, the noise felt hollow, like a song he'd heard too many times. He wasn't looking for meaning, just distraction, when a small Queens Gazette link caught his eye. Historic Bayside School faces demolition after decades closed. He clicked it, not thinking, the photo loading slow on the Wi-Fi. A red brick building, faded and squat, windows boarded, weeds choking the yard. His breath caught. It was his school, the one he'd run through as a kid, dodging teachers, dreaming big. The article said it had been shut since the 90s, left to rot, city council voting to tear it down. Needs vision, it read, or it's gone. He leaned back, the tablet dimming, a memory flickering, chalk dust, his desk by the window, a kid who thought he'd own the world. He didn't tell anyone, not Melania, dozing in the next room, not Barron, off at some tech conference, not even Mike, his driver, who'd ask too many questions. He made the call himself, not from the office line, but his personal one, the number he kept for family and old friends from before politics ate his life. The realtor, a brisk woman named Carla, thought it was a prank until his voice sank in. "I want it," he said, "no haggling. Full price, no inspection, just hold it. I need to see it first alone." She stammered, agreed, and he hung up, the penthouse quiet now, the city's hum distant. 2 days later, Donald Trump landed in Queens, no fanfare, no convoy, just a black sedan, Mike at the wheel, 2 Secret Service agents in plain clothes trailing a block behind. He wore a gray hoodie, jeans, a cap pulled low, no tie, no flash, just a man nobody'd look twice at. The car parked a street over, and he walked alone, the fall air sharp with leaves and memory. Bayside hadn't changed much. Same narrow sidewalks, same corner deli, same kids laughing on stoops. The school loomed ahead, smaller than he'd pictured, its brick dulled, boards cracked, but the arched door was the same, heavy oak, chipped where he'd kicked it once, daring a friend. He ran his fingers over the wood, the grain rough under his palm, before knocking. Carla opened it, nervous, her clipboard clutched tight. "Mr. Trump, didn't expect you so soon. It's a untouched bit of a mess." "Good," he said, stepping inside. The air hit him, dust, mildew, faint pencil shavings, a smell that yanked him back 50 years. The lobby was dim, tiles cracked, a busted trophy case leaning against the wall. He waved Carla off, "Stay here," and walked alone, his footsteps echoing. The hallway stretched narrow, lockers rusted, paint peeling, but the bones were there: his school, his start. He passed a faded mural, kids holding hands, stars above, and remembered painting it, his hands smudged blue, his teacher laughing. He didn't speak, just moved, like a kid retracing steps. The cafeteria, long tables gone, but the stage still stood, where he'd botched a play at 10, forgetting lines. The gym nets rotted, but he saw himself shooting hoops, cocky even then. His classroom was last, second floor, end of the hall. The door creaked open, desks piled in a corner, chalkboard chipped but whole. He stood by the window, his window, watching leaves skitter across the empty yard. He'd sat here, dreaming of towers, power, and a name nobody'd forget. Now he'd gotten it, and something still felt off, like a deal that didn't close right. He sank into a chair, small, splintered, kid-sized, his knees bumping the desk. The silence wasn't empty, it hummed, full of ghosts. His mom's voice, quiets where you find yourself, came back, soft but clear. He'd tuned it out then, chasing big. Now it landed, heavy, real. He stood, restless, scanning the room. A closet door hung ajar in the corner, and he crossed to it, curious, the hinges groaning as he pulled it open. Inside was a shelf, warped and dusty, stuffed with old folders, books, a box labeled 3rd grade, Mrs. Ellis. His pulse kicked. He'd had Mrs. Ellis, a tough old bird who liked to spark, but called him out when he pushed too far. He dragged the box out, coughing as dust swirled, and knelt, prying it open. Papers spilled, math sheets, drawings, a photo of him grinning, gap-toothed. Then he saw it, a booklet, yellowed construction paper, stapled crooked, titled My Dream in his kid's scrawl, crayons faded but bold. He opened it, slow, the pages brittle. Stick figures, a tower, a crowd, him in a suit. On the last page, in big, careful letters, I want to make people feel big. His throat tightened, the words a punch, make people feel big. He'd written that, meant it, a kid who saw small and wanted to lift it. He read it again, the silence thick, his chest heavy, not shame, not regret, but memory, sharp and alive. He sat back, booklet in his lap, dust settling around him. The classroom dimmed, the sun dipping low, and for the first time in decades, Donald Trump wondered, had he forgotten that kid? The one who didn't just want to win, but to lift others up? He didn't have answers, not yet, but the booklet burned in his hands, a vow he'd let slip, and the quiet held him, whispering louder than any crowd he'd ever faced. He stayed longer than planned, walking the halls, touching walls, tracing cracks. Carla waited downstairs, silent, sensing he needed space. He didn't take anything, just held the booklet, its weight heavier than any deal he'd signed. Outside, the air cooled, Mike leaning on the car a block away. You good, boss? He asked, voice low. Yeah, Trump said, nodding slow, the booklet tucked in his coat. Different, but good. The sedan pulled away, Queens fading behind, the city skyline rising sharp against the dusk. He didn't speak, didn't check his phone, just sat with it, a kid's dream folded against his chest, small and real, stirring something he wasn't ready to name. The Trump Tower penthouse was quieter than usual, the city's glow muted by heavy November clouds outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. Donald Trump sat at his desk, the booklet from his old Bayside school open before him, its yellowed pages brittle under the desk lamp's light. I want to make people feel big, scrawled in his 9-year-old hand, stared up at him, the crayon faded but bold. A day had passed since he'd walked those dusty halls, stood in his classroom, felt the weight of a kid's dream he'd forgotten. At 79, he'd built an empire, towers, campaigns, a name carved in gold, but that sentence, simple and raw, had cracked something open and he couldn't shake it. He leaned back, rubbing his eyes, the booklet's weight heavier than the contracts piled beside it. The penthouse hummed, Melania on a call in the next room, Barron's tech talk faintly audible from his suite, but his mind was in Queens, in that shuttered school, its cracked tiles and rusted lockers. He'd gone alone yesterday, no press, no plan, just a pull he didn't name. The realtor, Carla, hadn't pushed. Mike hadn't asked questions. But that booklet, My Dream, had followed him back, whispering louder than the city's roar. He'd meant those words once, a kid who saw small and wanted to lift it. Now, decades later, he wondered, had he? He flipped the pages again, stick figures of towers and crowds blurring in his tired eyes. His mom's voice came back, quiets where you find yourself, soft but clear, from Friday dinners when she'd hush the table, make them listen. He'd rolled his eyes then, chasing big deals, power wins. Now it landed, steady, real, a memory he hadn't touched in years. He'd called Barron last night, left a voicemail, hey, kid, just checking in, but no reply yet. Claire's silence echoed too, his granddaughter out west, drifting like he had from his own folks once. The phone buzzed Lila, his assistant with a schedule update. Board call at 10, budget review. Press sniffing about Queen's trip. He typed back, "No press, keep it quiet." Push call to noon. He stood, pacing to the window, Manhattan glittering cold below. Queens felt closer, Bayside's narrow streets, the deli's neon flicker, that school's heavy air. He'd bought it full price, no questions, because it called him a piece of himself left behind. But why? To save it? To tear it down? He didn't know, not yet, but the booklet burned in his hands, a vow he'd let slip. Melania's heels clicked, her call done, and she leaned in the doorway, silk robe loose. "You're up late," she said, her voice warm but sharp. "That school again?" He turned, nodding at the booklet. "Yeah, found this yesterday. Kid stuff, wrote I wanted to make people feel big. Crazy, right?" She stepped closer, peering at the pages, her smile faint but real. "Not crazy, sweet. You were always big, heart, too. What's it doing to you?" "Dunno," he said, honest, sinking into his chair. Went back alone. Dusty, empty, but mine. That line, feel big, keeps sticking. Like I forgot something. She sat across, her eyes steady. "You didn't forget. You got loud. Your mom saw it, said you'd find it again." He grunted, surprised. "She did? When?" "Years ago," she said, sipping his water. "Said you'd run far, but you'd come back to yourself." This, she tapped the booklet, "It's you, not gone, just buried." "Buried," he echoed, smirking rough. "Sounds about right. Built big, towers, the White House. That kid? He's long gone." "Not gone," she said, firm. "Here," she tapped his chest, waiting. "You went back, means something." He didn't answer, her words sinking deep. Waiting. He'd never waited, pushed, fought, won. But yesterday, in that classroom, he'd sat still, the silence full, chalk dust, his mom's prayers, a kid's dream. He flipped the booklet closed, standing, pacing back to the window. "Called Baron, no answer," he said, voice low. "Feels like Claire all over again, drifting." "Give him time," she said, rising. "You're showing up, that's what counts. Sleep, Donald, you look beat." "Yeah," he said, watching her go, the door clicking shut. He sank back into the chair, the booklet open again. "I want to make people feel big." He'd meant it, saw small, wanted to lift it. Had he? Deals, rallies, power, big. Sure, but not like this. Not steady, not real. The phone buzzed. "Mike, Queens tomorrow? School again?" He typed back, "Yeah, lunch, quiet." Mike replied, "Hooked, boss, bad." Trump smirked, slipping the booklet into his pocket. Bayside pulled, those halls, that desk, Ellen's voice quiets where you find yourself. Not Ellen, he corrected, his mom, Mary, but the slip stuck, a name he didn't know, a ghost from nowhere. He stood, restless, grabbing his coat. The elevator ride down was silent, the lobby empty, Mike waiting outside. "Late run," Trump said, sliding into the sedan. "Just drive Queens slow." Mike raised an eyebrow but didn't ask, pulling into the night. Manhattan faded, Queens rising, stoops, delis, flickering signs. The school loomed dark, boards stark against the brick. Trump didn't get out, just looked, the booklet heavy in his pocket. "Stop here," he said, voice low. Mike parked, the engine ticking soft. He stared at the building, its shadow swallowing the streetlight. Memories flickered, running laps, sneaking candy, Mrs. Ellis calling him sharp but stubborn. That kid wanted big, not just for himself, for others. He'd built it, towers, fame, but missed something, left people small. His chest tightened, not shame, not regret, but a pull, raw and real, to find that kid again. "Drive," he said finally, Mike easing back onto the road. The city blurred past, his mind stuck, make people feel big. He didn't know how, not yet, but it was there, growing, a vow he couldn't dodge. Back at the penthouse, he set the booklet on his desk, the lamp casting long shadows. Melania slept. The city hummed low. He didn't turn on the TV, didn't check headlines, just sat, letting it sink. The school, the booklet, that line, they weren't just past. They were now, whispering steady, real, louder than any wind he'd chased. He'd go back tomorrow, no plan, just the pole, and for once, that was enough. The Bayside School stood quiet under a gray Saturday sky, its red brick dulled by years, the boarded windows like closed eyes on a face Donald Trump hadn't forgotten. He stepped out of the sedan, the notepad in his coat pocket. I want to make people feel big, a steady weight against his chest. 3 days since he'd walked these halls, found that booklet in the attic, felt a kid's dream crack his walls. At 79, he'd built a life louder than most. Towers, campaigns, a name carved deep, but that crayon vow, simple and raw, had rooted in him, whispering truths he hadn't faced in decades. Today, he'd come back, no plan, just a pole to listen. Mike stayed with the car a block away, 2 Secret Service agents trailing at a distance, plainclothes and silent. Trump wore a navy jacket, jeans, a cap pulled low, no flash, no show, just a man nobody'd clocked twice. The air was crisp, leaves skittering across the cracked sidewalk, Bayside's familiar hum, kids on bikes, deli chatter, wrapping him in memory. He didn't knock this time. Carla had given him a key, no questions. The oak door groaned as he pushed it open, the smell hitting him, dust, mildew, chalk, a time machine to a kid who dreamed here. He moved slow, footsteps echoing in the dim lobby, tiles chipped but familiar under his boots. The hallway stretched, lockers rusted, a faded mural flickering in the half-light, kids, stars, his smudged blue handprint from 53. He'd come alone again, telling no one, not Melania, who'd smiled last night when he mentioned the booklet, not Barron, still silent after his voicemail. The school was his, bought outright, but it wasn't about owning, it was about finding, something he'd lost in the noise of wins and fights. He climbed the stairs, the banister creaking, and headed for his classroom, 2nd floor, end of the hall. The door was ajar, and he stepped in, his desk, still by the window, splintered but whole. He sank into it, knees cramped, the booklet open in his hands. I want to make people feel big. He'd meant it, saw small, wanted to lift it. Had he? Rallies, deals, power, big. Sure, but not like this. Not steady, not real. His mom's voice drifted in quiets where you find yourself from Friday dinners, her eyes warm, hushing his chatter. He chased loud instead, built a life that roared. The silence wasn't empty, it hummed, full of ghosts. He flipped the booklet's pages, stick figures, towers, a kid's dream of mattering. Claire came back, his granddaughter, 24, out west, her last call clipped, distant. Barron too, busy, drifting. He'd tried voicemails, texts, but they pulled away like he had from his folks once, chasing bigger. Make people feel big. He'd wanted that not just for crowds, but for them, his own. The booklet burned, a vow he'd let slip, and he wondered, could he still? A creak broke the quiet, footsteps, not his. He stood, heart kicking, and moved to the door, peering down the hall. A figure shuffled near the stairwell, old, stooped, a woman in a brown coat, gray hair tied tight. She turned, catching his eye, her face weathered but sharp. "Donnie," she said, voice cracking. "That you?" He froze, the name, Donnie, a jolt from nowhere. "Yeah," he said, slow, stepping closer. "Who are you?" She smiled, faint but warm. "Mrs. Ellis, 3rd grade. Didn't think I'd see you here." His breath caught Mrs. Ellis, his teacher, tough and kind, who'd pushed him to write that booklet. "You're still around?" he said, stunned. "Thought you'd be." Ancient, she cut in, chuckling rough. "Close enough, 88. Live down the block, saw the car, figured someone's snooping. Didn't expect you." He smirked, nodding to the classroom. "Come in better than standing." She followed, slow, settling into a chair, her eyes scanning the room, desks, chalkboard, ghosts. He held up the booklet, voice low. Found this, attic. My dream, make people feel big. Forgot I wrote it. She took it, her hands trembling but sure, flipping the pages. I remember, she said, soft. You stood up, read it loud, proud, even then. Said you'd do it, meant it. His throat tightened. Did I? Build big, towers, name, all that. But this, he tapped the page, don't know if I got there. Her eyes met his, sharp despite the years. You got loud, big's different. That kid saw small, wanted to lift it. You still can. Still can, he echoed, smirking faint. Easy to say, a hard to do. Families drifting barren, Claire. Tried calling, no answer. Kids drift, she said, steady. Mine did, came back when I showed up, not just talked. You're here, means you're trying. He grunted, her words landing heavy, show up. You always this wise, or just old? Both, she said, grinning. You were stubborn, sharp, too. That booklet's you, not gone, just waiting. Waiting, he muttered, flipping it closed. Waiting. He'd never waited pushed. One, moved on. But here, with her, the silence held, Mrs. Ellis, chalk dust, a kid's vow. What did you do? He asked, voice low. After here teaching all that? Retired, she said, shrugging. Volunteered library kids. Bayside's small, folks need lifting. Still do, school's gone, library's half dead. His chest tightened, library, like Ellen's, another ghost name slipping in. Heard about that, he said, careful. Rough, town's hurting. Always was, she said, eyes narrowing. You bought this place, Carla talks. Gonna tear it down. No, he said, quick, surprised himself. Not sure why, just had to. That booklet stirred stuff up. She nodded, slow, like she saw more. Stir's good, means you're not done. That kid's still in you, find him. He didn't answer, her words sinking deep, find him. The classroom dimmed, the sun dipping low, shadows stretching long. Mrs. Ellis stood, slow, her coat rustling. Gotta go, knees don't like dark. Come back. Donnie, not for the school, for you. Yeah, he said, standing too. Thanks means something. She shuffled out, the stairs creaking, leaving him alone again. He sank back into the desk, booklet open. I want to make people feel big. Mrs. Ellis's voice stayed, you're not done. Back in the sedan, Mike glanced over. Long one. Boss, find anything? Yeah, Trump said. Booklet in his pocket. Stuff I forgot, real stuff. Mike smirked, pulling into traffic. Hooked bad, you're sunk. Trump chuckled, rough, Queens fading behind. The city rose sharp, cold, but his mind was here, Bayside, that classroom, a kid's dream. He texted Lila, check Bayside Library funds, jobs quiet. She replied, quiet? You're weird lately, done. He leaned back, the booklet heavy, Mrs. Ellis's words echoing, find him. He'd meant that vow, saw small, wanted to lift it. Claire, barren, Bayside, could he still? The silence grew, steady, real, whispering louder than any wind, and for once, he let it stay, ready to see where it led. The Trump Tower penthouse was bathed in the soft glow of a Sunday evening, the Manhattan skyline twinkling cold beyond the windows. Donald Trump sat at his desk, the booklet from his Bayside school open under the lamp's light. I want to make people feel big scrawled in his kid hand, the crayon faded but sharp. For days had passed since he'd found it in that dusty attic, 3 since Mrs. Ellis's words, find him, had sunk into him, steady and real. At 79, he'd built a life bigger than most, towers, campaigns, a name that echoed, but that vow, simple and raw, had cracked his armor and he couldn't turn away. Tonight, he'd face it, no noise, just truth. He leaned back, the chair creaking, the booklet heavier than the memos stacked beside it. The city hummed, Melania reading in the next room, Barron's absence a quiet ache, but his mind was in Queens, Bayside's shuttered school, its rusted lockers and cracked tiles. He'd gone back yesterday, met Mrs. Ellis, felt the past breathe again. She'd seen him, not the name, the kid, Donnie, sharp but stubborn, dreaming big for others. He'd bought the school, no plan, just a pull, and now it sat there, waiting like him. Make people feel big. He'd meant it, saw small, wanted to lift it. Had he? The question gnawed, steady, real, louder than any rally's roar. He flipped the booklet's pages, stick figures, towers, a kid's hope. His mom's voice came back, quiet's where you find yourself from Friday dinners, her eyes warm, hushing his chatter. He chased loud instead, built a life that thundered, deals, power, wins. Now it landed, heavy, a memory he'd buried under noise. Barron hadn't called, voicemail, silence, like Claire before her, his granddaughter, out west, drifting. He'd tried, texts, messages, but they pulled away, like he had from his folks, chasing bigger. Make people feel big, not just crowds for them, his own. The phone buzzed Lila with an update. Bayside Library funded, jobs posted. Press sniffing, no leaks. You okay? He typed back. Good, keep it quiet. I'm fine. He stood, pacing to the window, the skyline sharp and cold. Bayside pulled those halls, Mrs. Ellis's smile, that vow. He'd pushed the library grant, thinking of her folks need lifting, but it wasn't enough, not yet. The booklet burned, a kid's dream he'd let slip, and he wondered, could he lift it now? Melania's voice broke the quiet, her heels soft on the hardwood. Still with that book, she said, leaning in the doorway, her robe loose, eyes warm but sharp. Yeah, he said, nodding at it. Kid stuff, make people feel big. Mrs. Ellis remembered it, said I meant it. Keeps hitting me. She stepped closer, peering at the pages, her smile faint. You did mean it, always wanted big, not just for you. She saw that, your mom too. He grunted, surprised. Mom said that? When? Long ago, she said, sitting across, sipping his water. Said you'd shine, lift others if you slowed down. That she tapped the booklet, it's still you, just hiding. Hiding, he echoed, smirking rough. Built loud, towers, the White House. That kid? Buried deep. Not buried, she said, firm. Waiting, you're finding him. Bayside, that teacher means something. He didn't answer, her words sinking, waiting. He'd never waited, pushed, fought, won. But yesterday, with Mrs. Ellis, the silence held, chalk dust, her laugh, a kid's vow. Called Barron again, no answer, he said, voice low. Claire too, drifting like I did. Show up, she said, steady. You're trying, that's what lifts. Not loud, just real. Real, he muttered, flipping the booklet closed. Show up. He'd showed up at Bayside, in that classroom, but for who? Himself? The kid he'd been? Or something bigger? The door buzzed Mike early for once, poking his head in. Hey boss, he said, holding a coffee. Lila said you're stuck on Queen's school stuff. You good? Yeah, Trump said, waving him in. Found this. He tapped the booklet. Kid dream, make people feel big. Met my teacher, Mrs. Ellis. Stirred me up. Mike sat, smirking. Stirred? You? That's new. Usually you're stirring everybody else. What's it say? Says I saw small, he said, honest. Wanted to lift it, forgot how. She said I'm not done, kids still in me. Mike nodded, slow, sipping his coffee. My aunt was like that, taught me small counts. Bayside small, folks they're hurting. You fixing it? Trying, Trump said, smirking faint. Libraries funded, jobs coming. Quiet, no press. Weird, right? Not weird, Mike said, steady. Real, good real. That kid's talking, you're listening. Trump grunted, the idea landing, listening. He'd built loud, rallies, deals, headlines. But Bayside wasn't loud. It was steady, small, like Mrs. Ellis's kitchen, her coffee mug, her words, "You're not done." "Yeah," he muttered, "maybe." Told Lila, "Keep it moving, no noise." "Good call," Mike said, standing. "Bayside's waiting, go back." "Need me?" "Nah," Trump said, waving him off. "Tomorrow, lunch, quiet." "Always," Mike said, grinning, the door clicking shut. Trump sank back, the booklet open again. "I want to make people feel big." He'd meant it, not crowds, not power, but people, small and real. Claire, Barron, Bayside, could he lift them? He stood, restless, grabbing his coat. The elevator hummed down, the lobby empty, Mike waiting outside. "Queens again," Trump said, sliding into the sedan. "Slow, no rush." Mike smirked, pulling out. "School's got you sunk, bad case." Trump chuckled, rough, the city blurring past, Manhattan's glitter fading, Queens rising, delis and stoops flickering in the dusk. The school loomed, dark and still, its brick heavy against the night. He didn't get out, just looked, the booklet warm in his pocket. "Circle it," he said, voice low. Mike nodded, the car looping slow. He stared at the building, classroom windows, the yard where he'd raced, Mrs. Ellis's voice find him. Memories hit, his mom's prayers, his dad's gruff nod, a kid who saw small and wanted big for others. He'd built it, towers, fame, but missed it, left people small. His chest tightened, not regret, but a vow, raw and alive, to lift again. "Home," he said finally, Mike turning back. The skyline rose sharp, cold, but Bayside stayed, halls, dust, a kid's dream. He texted Lila, "Bayside jobs, push more, quiet." She replied, "You're obsessed, done." He leaned back, the booklet heavy, Mrs. Ellis's words echoing, "You're not done." He'd meant that vow, saw small, wanted to lift it. The silence grew, steady, real, whispering louder than any deal, and he let it hold him, ready to show up, step by step. The Bayside School stood bathed in a soft Monday dawn, its red brick catching the first light like a memory waking slow. Donald Trump stepped from the sedan, the booklet tucked in his coat pocket. "I want to make people feel big," a quiet vow etched deep. 5 days since he'd found it in that dusty attic, 4 since Mrs. Ellis had stirred him, find him, and her words, steady and real, had rooted firm. At 79, he'd built a life louder than most, towers, campaigns, a name carved in stone, but that kid's dream, raw and simple, had cracked him open, and he was here to face it, no noise, just truth. Today, he'd show up not for the past, but for now, for Bayside, for the small he'd sworn to lift. Mike parked a block away, 2 Secret Service agents trailing silent in plain clothes, blending into the morning's hum. Trump wore a gray sweater, jeans, no cap this time, nothing to hide, just a man who didn't need eyes on him. The air was cool, leaves crunching under his boots, Bayside alive, kids biking, deli steam clouding windows, a town small but breathing. He'd come alone again, telling no one, not Melania, who'd kissed his cheek last night, saying you're finding it, not barren, still quiet after another voicemail. The school was his, bought for reasons he hadn't named, but now he knew, not to own it, but to lift it like that kid had dreamed. He unlocked the oak door. It's grown familiar, the smell hitting, dust, chalk, time. The lobby was dim, tiles cracked, but the mural flickered, kids, stars, his blue handprint from 53. He didn't linger, heading straight for the classroom, 2nd floor, end of the hall. The door creaked open, his desk by the window waiting, splintered but steady. He sat, booklet open. "I want to make people feel big." He'd meant it, saw small, wanted to lift it. Had he? Rallies, deals, power, big, but not this, not real. His mom's voice echoed, quiet's where you find yourself from Friday dinners, her eyes hushing his fire. He'd chased loud, built a life that roared, but here now the quiet held, whispering truth. He flipped the pages, stick figures, towers, a kid's heart. Claire's face flashed. His granddaughter, 24, her last text curt. Busy, talk later. Baron 2, drifting, no callback. He tried voicemails, texts, but they slipped, like he had from his folks, chasing big. Make people feel big. Not crowds for them, for Bayside, for the small he'd left behind. The booklet burned, a vow he'd let fade, but Mrs. Ellis's words, "You're not done," pushed him now, steady, alive. Footsteps broke the silence, light, hesitant, not alone. He stood, heart kicking, and stepped to the door, peering down the hall. A group, 5, maybe 6, hovered near the stairwell, locals by their coats and boots, one holding a flashlight, another a clipboard. A woman turned, mid-60s, gray braid, eyes sharp, and froze. "Mr. Trump," she said, voice cracking. "Didn't expect you." He nodded, stepping closer. "Didn't expect company, who are you?" "Linda Carter," she said, steadying. "Bayside Council, heard you bought it. These folks, parents, teachers, wanted to see before it's gone." "Gone?" He raised an eyebrow, booklet warm in his pocket. "Not going anywhere, yet. Come in better than sneaking." They followed, wary but curious, into the classroom, spreading out desks, chalkboard, ghosts. Linda clutched her clipboard, eyes scanning him. "Carla said you're keeping it. Why?" "Developer." "No," he said, honest, settling back in his desk. "Found this," he held up the booklet. "Kid stuff, make people feel big. Wrote it here, 3rd grade. Stirred me up, had to come back." Linda's eyes softened, taking it, flipping the pages slow. "You meant it," she said, soft. "I taught here, retired 95. Kids dreamed big, still do, but town small, hurting." He nodded, her words landing, hurting. "Heard libraries back, jobs coming. Quiet, no press. Bayside's not forgotten." She blinked, surprised. "You did that?" "Folks noticed, didn't know it was you." "Doesn't need to be," he said, smirking faint. "Kid meant this," he tapped the booklet, not headlines. "You're here, means it's worth lifting." A man, burly, 50s, in a flannel coat, spoke up, voice rough. "Lifting's nice, school's dead, though. My boy needs classes, coding, tech. Nothing here but dust." Trump's chest tightened. "Nothing but dust." "What's your name?" he asked, leaning forward. "Paul," the man said, arms crossed. "Work at the deli, barely covers rent. Bayside's dying, big talk doesn't fix it." "Big talk's not me," Trump said, steady. "Coding, tech, real stuff." "What else?" Paul hesitated, caught off guard. "Teachers, good ones. Books, computers, kids need tools, not promises." "Tools," Trump said, jotting it on the booklet's back page. "Got it, computers, teachers, done. You'll see it soon." Linda's eyes narrowed, hopeful but sharp. "You're serious?" "Bayside's small, nobody looks twice." "I'm looking," he said, meeting her gaze. "Kids saw small, wanted big for others." "I'm not done." The group murmured, faces shifting, doubt, hope, something real. A woman, younger, 40s, with tired eyes, spoke soft. "My girl's shy, loves art. No programs here, she's fading." "Art," Trump said, writing fast. "Programs, done." "Name?" "Sonia," she said, voice cracking. "Thank you, she'd feel big." He nodded, the booklet heavy, feel big. The silence grew, not tense, but full, chalk dust, their eyes, a kid's vow breathing again. Linda handed it back, smiling faint. "Your trouble, Donnie, good trouble." "Always," he said, grinning rough. They left, footsteps fading, promising to spread the word, quiet, no noise. He stayed, booklet open, sitting in that desk, the classroom dimming as the sun sank. Make people feel big. Paul's deli, Sonia's girl, Bayside, small, hurting, but not gone. He'd meant it, not crowds, not power, but them real. Back in the sedan, Mike glanced over. "Big day, boss," folks looked shook. "What's next?" "More," Trump said. Booklet warm. Computers, art, quiet, real. Kids talking, I'm listening. Mike smirked, pulling out. Sunk deep, you're done. Trump chuckled, Queens fading, Manhattan rising sharp, cold, but Bayside held halls, faces, a vow. He texted Lila, Bayside, computers, teachers, art programs. Fast, quiet. She replied, obsessed and understatement, done. The penthouse was warm, Melania waiting, her smile soft. School again, she said, setting down her book. Yeah, he said, sinking onto the couch, booklet in hand. Met folks, parents, teachers. Want their kids big, coding, art. Kid stuff's growing. Her eyes glowed, steady. That's you, not loud, real. They're lucky you're showing up. Showing up, he echoed, grinning faint. Kid saw small, wanted to lift it. Trying, not done. Good, she said, squeezing his hand. Keep it, suits you. Years later, Bayside would bloom, school open, library alive, kids coding, painting, feeling big. Barron called back slow, Claire too, visits mending what drifted. Trump would stand in that classroom again, not alone, kids laughing, teachers nodding, a town lifted. He'd tell the truth not that day, but soon, and they'd cheer, good trouble, Donnie and stay. But that Monday, he just sat, booklet open, Melania close, the quiet, steady, real, raw, worth everything. What did you think of Donald's story? Drop your thoughts below, rate it 0 to 10. Tell us what hit you hardest. When's the last time a memory pulled you back, made you rethink who you are? Share it with us. What's your small vow? Keep this going because sometimes the quiet lifts everything.